Very cool. So you wrote that book in college, and it sounds like you were studying computer science. Take me from that journey. What's led you kind of to be where you are at today?
I wasn't studying computer science.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, I was doing political science and administrative and commercial studies, kind of like
Got
a
it.
junior business degree. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to get into Canada's foremost business school, the Richard Ivey School of Business. So, I did all these things, right? Like, I joined a varsity sports team and I became a leader in my fraternity and I did this entrepreneurial venture and I became, vice president of membership for an international entrepreneurial association that Michael Dell was a big part of
Hmm.
back in this. I did all these things, all these resume stacking things, these real things that built my skills. And I said, "Hey, I'm going to be able to get into this school because if you got into that school, your future was really, really well assured." One of my roommates did get in, and eventually ran Google Canada for a number of years, and
Wow. Very
has
cool.
created quite a distinguished resume for himself. That's the kind of school, it's kind of like a Harvard of Canada type thing.
Hmm.
And so I'm working at it, but my grades aren't good. I'm just not the academic type. Um, I just don't care. I'm just not. I'd always finish in top 25 percentile, which is really all I wanted to do for myself. But I didn't really care. I was dumb. I still think a lot of academics are overwrought, dumb, ancient. It's an institution that needs to change. So I didn't have the grades. Long story short, I didn't get in. And I'm like, God damn it. God damn it. What's my plan B? Well, I didn't have a plan B. So that summer, I managed to, this was early 90s in Canada, recession, bad recession, really, really bad time. And through a buddy of mine, his sister worked at AT&T Canada. I managed to get an internship in marketing department. And this was between second and third year college. And it was amazing. I was working 100 hours a week. I was making money. It was learning. It was amazing. And at the end of the term, they said, "Hey, do you want to bail on school and just come full time?" And I was so torn because the economy was so bad. And it's not like I come from a privileged background. So I was like, "Ugh, I got to finish this degree. Um, what do you think? 2 years, you think you'd be ready for me still?" And they're like, they can't make any guarantees. I said, okay. So I finished my last 2 years of college in 1 year
Wow.
in the hopes with no guarantee that I would be able to go back to AT&T. Again, recession still raging. One third of college graduates getting jobs in their chosen fields. Bad, really bad. And so I accelerated my last 2 years into one, went back to AT&T and got to work. And that's really when I started learning how to work. My manager was an MBA graduate from the school I didn't get into, and she
Dang.
was an undergraduate degree from Oxford with a Rhodes Scholarship degree. And she has also created quite a profile for herself. Um, and she's really the one who I credit for training me to work and think, and I practice a lot of those skills that she beat into me today.
Very cool. Why did you go back to school? What was that driving factor that, like, you had a job in hand, and like you said, during a recession, I feel like you could almost guarantee a great job that you loved, to almost risk it to go back to school. What was the driving force that made you go back?
Great question. That's a huge question. The answer is programming. We're programmed to finish our degrees. We've got pressure from society, from parents, from friends, from peers, all these areas. And unfortunately, that's the truth. And recognizing the pressures that you have on you and what it's causing you to do and forcing you to do and forcing you to feel is one of the steps you have to take in order to find your path to happiness. And I didn't have it at that time. It took me many years to figure it out.
Gotcha. So a little bit of a hot take. What's your take on entrepreneurs or people that are wanting to just dive right into the business field, saying I need to go to school first and delaying that work experience?
You just nailed it. You nailed it. You're delaying it. Tell me something. Do you think an education system created 150 years ago is really going to help you? Are you really the score that you got on a test? A bunch of questions that may or may not be relevant to anything you care about? And listen, I've got 4 kids. One of them has a graduate or has a 4-year degree from Loyola Marymount. Another one is finishing second year at Boston University. A third one did like 3 months at college and is kind of a bit following a pathway to some extent that you and some of your peers are in terms of e-com, TikTok, finding ways to make money, following their path. And I support them 100%. And what's interesting is, you know, even within the family unit, that programming still exists. So I was really the outlier in the family in terms of supporting him and saying, hey, you don't have to go to school. There's lots of ways to do it. You don't have to go to school. And it was a contrarian attitude. And thank goodness it's paid off. He's doing really, really well. Most importantly, outside of the finances, is he's happy. He's happy with his journey. That's what the goal is.
Very cool. I think from a empathetic standpoint, that conversation you had with your son where you're like, you're doing okay, you don't need to go to school. I had a very similar conversation with my dad. We were sitting down one night. I'm like, all right, Dad, I'm ready for the talk. But when are you going to tell me to go back to school? Because I had dropped out of school in order to pursue this dream of mine of content creation and trying to get to where I'm at today. And he's like, don't stop, like keep going. And like, you can always go back to school, but you can't go back to what you're on, the path you're on. And so like as a son, I bet your son really appreciated that conversation. It's just that boost of confidence because I went back to work harder than I've ever worked because I'm like, somebody believes in me. Like this isn't just a pipe dream of mine. And so that I'm sure was a conversation your son will never forget. So I just think that that's a interesting perspective. So
that's really cool about your dad, by the way. I'm so
yeah.
glad to hear that. That's just amazing. That's really,
Yeah,
really cool.
something I won't
Congratulations.
ever forget. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I had a ton of fun learning about who Steve Reinharz is as an entrepreneur, CEO, and founder, and all the lessons that he's learned along the way. I gained a lot of valuable insights, and I'm super grateful that he was able to come onto the podcast. If you have somebody that you would like me to interview, drop their name down in the comments. I'll be sure to reach out to them. I can't promise anything, but what I can promise is that the bigger the podcast gets, the bigger guests we're going to get. So if you haven't yet, consider subscribing. And like always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. If you guys are curious on how I ended up working here for Meet Kevin, consider checking out the courses linked down below. I'll give you guys a super special deal. Go ahead and send me an email, mckay@meetkevin.com. Just mention that you're a podcast listener. I'll get you guys a sweet deal on the new promo that we have going on. So check it out before the promo ends. Again, my email is mckay@meetkevin.com. Send me an email and I'll get you an awesome deal on the courses linked down below. Let's get back to the podcast.